I'm Frank Salon, your host and managing director of Vital Plus. Now, if you don't know what Vital Plus is, well, we're on a mission to offer healthy choices to enliven the skin's natural potential. It might sound like a commercial, but it's true. You need to know. And we also provide education to empower you, the beauty professionals. Today, our very own Naomi Nahoum will immerse us in the crucial topic of sales. And, you know, when you think that we're only 49 days away from Christmas, and if you haven't figured it out yet, well, sales is the heartbeat of your business. Yeah. I've known Naomi for about 30 years. She's like a sister. Really, the owner and manager of Human Nurture, she is someone who will speak from experience in running a beauty business. So I want you to listen carefully to what she has to say, because I know as her favorite and #1 supplier that she can sell. And not just her, but her team. And I stress her team because it's a crucial aspect that everyone gets involved in the selling process. And also it's important that you understand that it's something that can be replicated. You don't need to be the only person selling in your salon. You can also teach your team to do that. Everyone should participate in the sales journey. Everyone should develop the skills of sales. And of course, when I'm talking of sales, I'm talking about the ethical process, not trying to push something that someone doesn't need. This is not what we're about. Naomi's professional career has grown from beauty therapist to skin therapist to yoga teacher. And although now she continues to provide her services as a therapist, she also is a business coach. Naomi, it's great to have you with us. I know you've devoted your time to supporting the beauty industry for many years now, and especially to help therapists to master their skills in the sales technique. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Frank. That was incredible. You said so many potent things. It's an honor to be here, and I feel very much a part of your life and your family. And it's true. Gosh, in 1998, when I became a fan of genetic, I stepped into the Vital Plus family, proud and loud, finally finding a product that actually does what it says. And it gives you the education to understand cells and how the skin functions, with giving the client a fantastic result. So it takes me way back to 1998 when we first began with you. So it's a long-term relationship. But thank you. You said something really powerful then about my team. Yes. And if I can just add to that, I didn't realize beauty therapists struggled with sales. Just to share a bit of my background, I grew up in a family business, in a food business, and I was selling from the age of 10, and I had no idea that that's what I was doing. And the benefit it would have right in my career as a skin therapist and now teaching people sales has been exponential, because my mum taught me how important it is to build rapport, look at people, remember their names, have eye contact, ask them what they would like. And that was just really easy for me. And then stepping into a career of it, it just seemed seamless. It wasn't until I employed staff and a team, I had no idea that these therapists struggled really badly. And wasn't until 2001, I had my first business coach. We took on a business coach for our business, and I didn't know how good our figures were until someone looks at them, and she said, your revenue is broken up to 70% sales and 30% treatment. She said, I've never seen that. And I didn't know that was great. And I never really knew that. Like talking money and normalizing money wasn't really a part of our industry. And that's what I want to bring forward today, is that it's so important to normalize this concept of money and finance, and it needs to be transparent with your team for them to understand how important it is to sell and to create a a selling positive mindset on an educational level. You mentioned the word ethical, Frank, and I call it educational based sales. So selling with heart. So you're not pushy or sleazy. You're actually just helping the client to solve their problems, and they're going to get beautiful skin. So
yeah,
very exciting, a lot to share today. So keep tuned, take notes,
right.
and keep your questions to the end if that's okay, because I might be able to answer your questions as we go along. And just to add, if you'd like to work with me beyond today, I've got a really special offer. So that's in the chat. A link will go into the chat, and I can share a bit more about that as we move at the end of the program today.
Fantastic.
So let's start.
Yes.
So welcome everyone to go from surviving to thriving, and I say that with all my heart, because for one thing, I feel a lot of salon owners are overwhelmed, overworked, and I have to say underpaid. And when I taught my staff how to sell, honestly, I was in the underpaid bracket because I was selling so much and I'm getting so much commission that they outdid my income, which I'm so happy to share that this is going to be easy once you learn the steps. And I just want to stress today that in this market we're in, we need to move away from thinking that sales is that feeling that we're pushy or sleazy, or feeling guilty that we're suggesting products to clients. So we need to move into more of an educational based mindset and allowing the client to feel like they can trust you. You're building rapport with them, so you're building a relationship with them. And this is the exciting part, because you help clients make decisions to improve their life, to solve their problem or problems. And when you do that, you transform their life. And what I teach in my coaching is that the first two pillars that we'll go over today is mindset. And mindset is massive in the sales process. If we haven't got clarity in how to sell, if we're not certain how to sell, therefore we're not consistent. And those three C's all line up to have more powerful selling opportunity, brings you the confidence to sell. And then today I'm going to look at strategy. And in strategy, you'll learn how to attract, convert, and transform your clients. And this all comes with having more aligned growth, and you'll get results through that. So that's the exciting part. So what are the main reasons why salons and therapists don't sell products? I'm going to break this down through our training today into 4 quadrants. And the 4 main quadrants are: there's a lack of positive sales culture, treatment and sales are seen as a separate transaction, people bring their own negative, preconceived, often unconscious ideas into the selling transaction. So that's about mindset. There's a lot of lack of motivation around sales, and often there's no sales system to follow. And this is what I'm so excited to share with you, my sales system. And so let's have a look at the no positive sales culture. And what does this actually mean? Well, often this is really underestimated, how important it is to sell. And selling products is a lot easier and way less time consuming than doing treatments. You can spend 90 minutes, an hour in a treatment, and you can actually prescribe retail a home care program very quickly, and you're making a great profit from this opportunity. And what I have to say here is that when we talk about figures and money, the money that's coming into the salon, 50% of that revenue needs to be from sales, from your product sales, and the other 50% needs to come from treatment. So if they're not matching up, what concerns me in this is that your salon or you as a therapist aren't going to be sustainable long term. And we saw this in the epidemic, in the lockdowns. Unfortunately, if you're a treatment-based salon and didn't have a strong retail culture, salons were closing down, and that was crippling. I mean, we all suffered, but The salons that suffered the most were the ones that weren't retailing or hadn't had a retail culture from the get-go. There's also the profitability of when you're having a high retail. It's a win-win situation. I'll talk about the win-win a little bit further along. So the therapist wins, the salon wins, and the client wins when we have a positive sales culture from turning retailing more and saving time from the retailer. The second point to no positive sale culture is treatment and sales are seen as a separate transaction. And honestly, this really has to stop because they are actually one of the same. If you're rebooking your clients in for treatment, you're actually selling. But something happens when we start talking about product or retail. The therapist can often feel a bit awkward, but it's actually the same process. When you book someone in for a treatment, you're actually selling. So we have to look at why are this is not a positive experience. Why is it seen as a separate transaction? And there's many reasons why, but we need to actually start seeing them as a one process. And often this is not the therapist's fault. It's often that it's a lack of training or lack of awareness. And now it's time to actually realize, well, we can actually do both really easily and effortlessly once you know. The third reason around no positive sales culture is generally there's no meetings around KPIs. So we're not talking about the finances of the business, and it costs so much to open that door each and every day. And a lot of the time, what I see when I'm coaching and even running my own business, we need to know what it costs each and every day, then every week, every month to run your business. So in knowing that, you understand what are your key performance indicators. And the fourth reason around no positive sale culture, this all comes back into the therapist being trained in sales. Because it's really easy. Once you know, sales skills can be taught. This is a subject that I'd love to actually see built into salon meetings and the salon culture more frequently. That's something that's really lacking, and it's something that is essential part of our role. And a lot of therapists think that they are just a hands-on therapist, but it's actually your responsibility to prescribe home care, call it what you like, retail, prescribing home care, or selling. It's really the same thing, but different words. And when we have the training, we're able to see that it actually is easy. So what happens here, and I had this awareness come to me quite strongly last night, and I wanted to share with you about part of the negative mindset. When therapists bring their own preconceived negative mindsets into the transaction, often this is unconscious. So we might have heard our parents or people in the public or anyone really talk about them feeling like they've been pushed into a sale, or they were forced to make a decision, or the salesperson didn't shut up, or I didn't really want that product and I felt I had to buy it. And all of these preconceived ideas can happen. And then coming to current time, the therapist is in front of the client, and current time they're thinking, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm being pushy now. And actually, in fact, they're not, but it's a preconceived unconscious thought pattern that's happened way ago that's coming into the current time. So we need to be aware of that. And that's why salespeople generally are regarded negatively. But the awareness I had last night was around, there's this concept called the good girl syndrome. And the good girl syndrome is basically, not so much these days, but probably a generation perhaps I grew up in and my parents grew up in, particularly the women I'm talking about, is that the good girl syndrome is that women were taught just to be quiet, be polite, be kind, sit pretty, don't say anything, behave basically. And it was very disempowering, and women back then lost their voice. And unfortunately, this leads to being a people pleaser. And the people pleasing syndrome comes forward into the sales transaction, that they feel guilty of offering products when the client is already spending money on the treatment. So not only do people pleasing syndrome comes into it, the therapist is closing the client's wallet or purse. So they're making a preconceived idea of they've spent enough, and then it's over. Nothing, no home care is prescribed. The client's not looking after her skin at home, and no one's getting anywhere further ahead. The salon's not making a profit. The salon can't depend on just treatment alone, and the client doesn't win either. So it's a loss in three major areas, which we really have to be more mindful of. If we have these preconceived ideas, just double check yourself. Am I making a decision based on something that isn't true or something I've been through? So that's something I take you through in my coaching, is working out these blocks and limiting beliefs that can easily unravel once you become aware of them. Some other negative mindsets are money blocks, particularly on the therapist or the salon owner's point of view. I did mention about feeling guilty, but there could be money blocks where people think, oh my gosh, the client spent so much money and I only make this much money, and they're spending all this money on one treatment. No way can I prescribe product. So that's a money block. Or, you know, the traditional money blocks of money only grows on trees. Or maybe if you like to chat, write something in the chat. What money blocks are you aware of? Sometimes there's money blocks around, oh, there's only enough money to go around. So if the therapist has that money block, oh, there's only enough money to go around, and the client is spending $200 or $300 on a treatment, I think, oh my gosh, that's way too much money. That's enough money. I can't no way prescribe any more product. But if you have any money block ideas, yeah, feel free to add them into the chat, and it would be good to actually have a look at those. The other negative mindsets we need to consider is the fear of rejection. So the fear of rejection is the therapist can have this feeling of taking it personally, but if I can open this up and let you know that no doesn't actually mean no. If a client goes, no, I'm not interested, and the therapist feels like it's a personal attack or taking it personally, it actually, a lot of the time, a no means I don't actually really understand, or I don't have enough information, or I'm a bit confused. And what I see more and more these days is a therapist tends to just listen to the client and doesn't ask enough questions, or not probe, but just open up the conversation a little more. What's an example? If a client came in and wanted improvement in their skin texture, and I'll just say something simple like, oh, talk me through your home care program. What are you currently doing? And if I hear that they're not cleansing in the morning or the night, or they're just rinsing their face with water, I'll say, well, first, you really need to start cleansing. I'm not sure why you wouldn't be doing that. So I ask the why question, and they say, oh, well, water's enough. And so I open up that conversation and educate them around why it's important to cleanse your skin. And if they then say, oh, no, I'm not interested, I'll say, oh, I'm a bit confused. Because if you're wanting texture improvement, cleansing is the first step, the foundation of getting your skin texture into a healthy skin condition. So we need to start having more conversations when we start hearing, oh, I know, or I'm not sure, or just ask your client, tell me a little bit more. I'm a bit confused because you wanted this ABC result, and if you want this result, you need to do X, Y, Z. It's just really just allowing yourself to feel comfortable to open up that conversation a little bit deeper. And the last part in the negative mindset is not confident in handling minor objections. So that fear of rejection and minor objections is quite similar in saying that when you do some sales training, you will understand how to handle minor objections. But in saying that, a minor objection might be where a client wants to use a chemist product, and then you need to educate them to say, well, actually, you're not going to get the results you need by using poor quality ingredients that are generally full of fragrance and fillers and often synthetic. So it's, again, when a client says perhaps a minor objection is the price, so it's educating them to share what the difference is of why they need to choose your products. And oh my gosh, you've got incredible products in front of you. You've got genetic, Nimu, Juno, skin sequentials. You've got all these options. So what we need to do is just shift our mindset around to why wouldn't you use these products? And this is why. Give them the reason why they need to use those products or a particular product. So the next heading or subject that we'll go into to create go from surviving to thriving is a lack of motivation. And a lack of motivation in learning how to sell, prescribe, or retail, as I was saying, choose the words that you like, but it's really all the same thing, just different tone to the word, is that there's not a big enough reason why. Perhaps for the therapist, there's not enough big reason why, because sometimes the therapist feels it's too hard. They feel that it's not their role. They think they might be just having to do treatments only. It's too hard to sell, and there's a lack of fear, and they don't understand the importance of sales. So that's sort of that's the why for the therapist. For the salon can be very similar. The salon owner might have all these preconceived ideas about sales as well, or they might just get so busy and overbooked and don't make time to actually slot in an extra 15 minutes for the home care prescription at the end, or a small consultation at the beginning. And this is clearly one of my biggest successes, that I allowed a half an hour turnover time. And some of you might find that alarming, but I soon discovered that allowing 15 minutes before the treatment and 15 minutes after the treatment, our sales quadrupled, because the therapist was able to do a consultation, discover what the client's real reason why they came in, and then at the end was able to easily have enough time to actually put the transaction through, or to actually write a home care program, rather than stressed out, not connecting to the client, going on to the next treatment. So that's a big reason why to do that. But a lot of salon owners just think, oh, it's not, I haven't got time for that, it's possibly not time. But when you actually change the culture, and flip the mindset that it actually is profitable to allow an extra half an hour or even 15 minutes to retail and do a home care, you'll see the absolute benefit and the enormous amount of profits that come in. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, it's way more profitable and less time consuming to sell product than to do a treatment. And for the client, the client wins. They're going to get amazing results. They'll love you for getting the results. They'll be thinking of you morning and night when their skin's looking better. And when they go out into the public and get beautiful actual compliments, people will ask, where do you go? And that's what generally happens. They'll give you a referral. So this is what I call the win-win situation. The therapist wins, the salon wins, and the client wins. Another thing with a lack of motivation that can happen is there might not be an adequate reward system in place. And a reward system might not only be financial. And this is what we need to find out with our team, that it might be just actually having acknowledging what a great job they're doing.
You do that.
Or if it is a reward, it might not be a financial bonus. It might be gift vouchers for a particular place they like to shop at. But this all comes down to, when I'll talk about the last point, is in your regular meetings, finding out more about your team, what motivates them, what inspires them, and allowing them to sell products easily, and they get rewarded for that. That leads me on to the fourth point, is that encourage your staff to love products. I love this part because beauty therapists, skin therapists naturally will promote something they love. If they love a product, they will just easily promote it. And we're all like that naturally, I'm pretty sure. If we love a cafe or a restaurant or a certain experience or a movie, we naturally are sharing the love. We naturally just tell people about things. So beauty therapists naturally do this. So incentivize our team and your members to have products. So what we used to do, we'd offer them wholesale with 10%, and that just covered like tax and freight and all those little extra costs. But allowing your team to use the products at such a low cost really does allow them to fall in love with them, use the products and sell them. And this all comes down to regular staff meetings. I cannot emphasize having regular staff meetings. We would have weekly meetings, touch base with our team. We learned a lot about where they're at, how they're going, what they're struggling with, how we can help, how I can help them build better connection with their clients, where the gaps are in the selling system that I'm about to show you, so they can strengthen the areas that are weaker, and we could acknowledge the areas that are going really well for them. So we felt very proud that every week we would make time to sit down as a group at the beginning of the week and have a little meeting next. So this is where a lot of salons do fall down, is they don't actually have a sales system. And a sales system makes things systemized, of course. And when you have a system, you can figure out what is working, what isn't working. And if you fall out of the system, how to get back into it. And a lot of the time, salons and therapists are just really honestly winging it. I think that's what I see out there. They just think, oh, well, you know, Christmas is coming, for example, now. It's going to be busy anyway. But if you don't have a system in place, you could be still missing out on opportunities and potentially a lot of income and a lot of profitability if you don't have a sales system. And no sales system basically means no strategy or no marketing plan. So unfortunately, if this is happening, you're not going to be sustainable. You might be profitable for a short chunk of time, but it's not sustainable. And that's what we're looking for: longevity and no burnout and no overwhelm, and actually that you're profitable. So this is why this is so essential to have a sales system to address the key elements in a sales to improve the rate of your success. So these bullet points here, feel free to take a screenshot. And if you do, actually just tag me at Beauty Business Evolution if you want to post it on socials. This sales system is the actual system I take my team through and what I coach. So when you build rapport, it's an unconscious relationship. And it's a doorway to a long-term relationship. And you know when you're in good rapport, when it just feels good. It's as simple as that. And as beauty therapists and skin therapists, we're so good at having this. We do it easily. We love people. We love to help. We love to get results for our clients. And there's personal rapport and professional rapport. So we need to build enough rapport to actually create the trust. And creating trust is a fascinating area, because when you create trust, you need to have active listening. So you're really listening to your clients. And a part of the trust factor is that you don't have vague communication. You can hear some therapists go, oh yeah, I think I'll get onto that. Oh, I'll do that. Now that's sort of, I'm exaggerating. I'm sure therapists don't talk like that. I'm just giving a feeling of that sort of vague communication. When you say you're going to do something, just make sure you do it. And if you can't do it, you let your clients know. So that creates trust, these sort of elements. And telling the truth, of course, be very honest with what you're telling your clients, what the products do, what the ingredients will be doing for their skin. and share your opinion openly and respectfully. And showing respect also creates trust. So when you build rapport and creating trust, there's the other element into the sales system is the timing. And getting the timing right is absolutely critical. Because say, for example, the extreme of it, if you start prescribing products as the client's leaving the room, you're bound to unfortunately not get great success because they're rushing out the door, they need to get on to their next activity or whatever is ahead of them for the rest of the day. The right timing to actually start talking about products is either, of course, in your consultation, but if you're not doing a consultation, in the cleansing process. You're analysing the skin, you're touching the skin, you start to work out what they could be doing, what the gaps are, what isn't working, what is working. And this is the correct timing to actually say, have you thought about doing this? I really see you need to be doing this, because you need to find out the real reason why your clients are in front of you. And when you find out the real reason why, that's where also the timing is right, because you can ask and create suggestions. Can you see how this system is just leads on one to the other? So when you suggest things, it's not like a shock or a surprise that when you start saying, well, at the end of your treatment today, I can get your home care products ready for you. Is that okay? So that's another part of the system, is asking permission, but I'll talk about that in a little while. So when you find out, going back to the real reason why, this might seem obvious because in your booking, they're booked in to say for have a Nimu peel or a skin resurfacing treatment or a genic facial. But however, what they've actually booked in for, imagine they've booked in for an SRC or a deep cleanse. But from your analysing skills, you go, oh, actually, I know you booked in for this, but you actually need this. So this is where you can actually start, again, to talk about what they need to be doing for future treatments, for a program, and what is really going to support them going forward. So that's addressing their needs and wants. So as I just mentioned, what a client wants is very different to what they need. And that actually makes you an authority. When you start sharing your opinion in the trust factor that I just talked about, you automatically make yourself an authority, because clients like to be told what to do, what they need in a respectful way. So if we can step into more sharing our knowledge and educating our clients, they'll just love you and they'll come back to you because you are sharing information, you are educating them, and you'll be their go-to therapist, rather than risking that they're going to go to someone else or listen to their neighbour or their close friend, or go to the chemist and get products. They'll come to you because they trust your advice, because you share your opinion openly, you allow to share your knowledge openly as well. And the last point in the sales system is ensure you make suggestions. Now, this is really important because I remember when I was first qualified, and I'm sure this still happens, gosh, talking 31 years ago. So what happens when you tend to be quite new in the industry, you tend to just follow the rules and you just do what you're told. And perhaps a few years in, then you're starting to build your confidence, hopefully not a few years, but you start to actually understand that clients like to be told what they need. They like to hear what treatments would be best for them. So this is where we need to start suggesting products and home care and a treatment plan, and talking about when is their next appointment in the beginning of their treatment. So when you're in that cleansing phase, you start talking about when you're going to see them next. And the important part too is having a follow-up system. And this has been a huge success in my business growth, is that I kept in contact with my clients. As soon as they would leave, I would put into our software that I'd need to follow up certain clients for certain reasons, whether it's a product, a sample, or a treatment follow-up. And this again builds the trust factor. And I would ask permission to follow them up, because some clients didn't really like that. A lot of clients love hearing from you, so it's just asking permission as you go as well. And then you get referrals that way. Clients just fall in love with you and they just want to naturally refer you. So keep in mind, if you want specific results, you need to have a specific plan in place. So this is the complete sales system. So you might be wondering, well, there's a lot of information here, but let me break it down a little bit more easily, and feel free to take a screenshot of this. So some do's and don'ts. So don't try and fix everything all at once. So what I mean by that, we can get so overexcited as therapists and we can see all these concerns and problems and we want to fix everything at once. It's important to write a plan, tell your client that we're working on this today, and in 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks, we'll be working on this. So you don't overwhelm them, and it's actually more sustainable and more sensible to have a plan in place for your clients. So make sure you're genuinely enthusiastic, and I'm talking about not over the top, where you can be over enthusiastic and it can turn your clients off, but your enthusiasm is what people buy. People buy your energy. They want to be around you. They want to know that each and every time they come to you, they know who they're getting. I mean, look, I know, ladies, our cycles go up and down and we can be a bit moody, I get that, but your clients need to know what they're coming into. They want consistency. They want to know that they're getting the best treatment each and every time. So your energy is contagious and people will buy from that. And that cultivates a strong belief in yourself. When people come back from you and they like you and they trust you, they will buy from you. And this is the like, buy, trust factor, because people will buy from you. They like you, trust you, and know you. So another don't is really important as therapists, just to be aware of this, is you need to be talking only 30% of the time, and a client needs to be talking 70% of the time. And I'm not saying how you measure that, but just as a gauge, just be aware that you're asking questions and the client is responding. And what can happen here is if you do too much of the talking, you're going to often miss the opportunity to retail or prescribe, rebook, and before you know it, they're out the door and you've had a happy time having a lovely social time, and you've missed all those opportunities. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you make a great impression. So when you first meet and greet in that rapport stage, I always say anything is possible in a building great rapport, because that builds a great relationship. So introduce yourself well. If you have a specialty, let them know. If you specialize in skin treatments or whatever is it that you specialize in, let them know in your introduction so they have an idea of your point of difference. So what is your point of difference as a therapist? And also know your product. That really makes a fantastic impression and builds authority. So if you can talk about your products and how they're going to benefit them, that leads and creates a great stepping stone for you to be an expert in your field. Make sure you don't use complicated language or tech words. Look, it sounds fantastic when you know what you're talking about, but honestly, it does lose clients. They switch off and it's just too much for them to take on. Clients only remember and retain a certain amount of what you're going to say anyway. Just keep your language simple, as long as you know what you're talking about. And if you can throw in a few scenarios, such as, so if we're talking about stimulating collagen, you can talk about things like fibroblast activity or transepidermal water loss and dehydration. Just keep the language simple so you're not overwhelming your clients with tech words and then they actually stick with you to what you're listening with. Yeah, so another thing not to do is make sure you're using open questions. So this also stimulates the conversation, and make sure you ask permission. So a good way to asking permission is when you say, for example, that cleansing phase I was talking about, when you're cleansing a client's skin and going through the right timing of, I can see that you need to be doing A, B, and C to get the result you came in for, what you asked for. Is that okay that I suggest a home care at the end? Is that okay if we look at a booking at the end? How do you feel about that? So asking permission builds trust, and it allows the client to have a bit more control of the situation. So keep that in mind. A big don't is don't wait to the end of the treatment to ask for a booking or an interaction around a sale. Often people are just leaving and walking out the door and don't have time to listen to you. So make sure you're doing that at the beginning or in the consultation. And then you're just wrapping it up at the end. So there's the perfect timing. Make sure you always make suggestions for products, home care, and future treatments. So I've mentioned this a few times, but I can't drive that point home enough. That part of the sales process is that you're making suggestions. Because some therapists are very much a yes therapist. They'll just do what they're meant to do. Some therapists are very new to it and they're just following the rules. But really, I'm just giving you a heads up now, the more that you make suggestions, the more it builds your authority and the more the clients will listen to you. So it's just giving them the ability to make that decision, and we're just helping clients make a decision at the end of the day. So make sure you don't overwhelm your clients. This is the big point with too many products. Unless you ask them, are you the sort of client that likes to do everything all at once, or can I suggest just a basic skincare program? Would you like just to start with the cleansers and the nourishing cream, or are you the sort of person that would like to do everything? Like, are you a client that would like to do a treatment mask at home as well? So it's giving them permission, and then also from here you understand where you sit with that client. If they go, oh, no, I'm just the sort of person that will do 2 products and that's it. Well, respect that and just do that. And you can also just add, well, in 4 weeks' time when I make your next booking, we can see the results and see if you need to be doing anything else. So make sure you're positioning yourself as an expert. So this is where you become the authority and you have a specialty. So if you love doing a particular treatment, make sure you share that with your client. Don't be quiet about it. Be proud about it and let your clients know. Because some salons specialize in all sorts of eyelash treatments and nails and waxing and eyebrows, of course. But if you're one to really specialize in skin, this is where you can really shine and let them know. Another thing not to do is don't overcomplicate your home care program. That's really important. Just making sure your client's on board with you, you're asking permission, and they're happy with what they're currently doing and what you're about to prescribe. And give your client a reason to return. This is really, really important. Giving reasons to return allows them to rebook more easily and effortlessly with you, and you're going to have a long-term client. And this is one for the therapist. Please do not neglect yourself. What I mean by this is your self-care. This is the opportunity to do something for you each and every day. And I'm talking about being an example to your clients. If you're feeling burnt out, do things that make you feel better. When you're an example, you're walking your talk. So do make sure you look after your skin. Do all the things that make you feel well and more balanced. And this allows you to be more sustainable long term. I'm a big advocate of self-care and making sure you look after yourself. And that's why I've been able to be in the industry for 31 years, because I have taken care of myself. And this is really important for everyone to take note, to do something every day to make yourself feel better and your energy levels are high and sustained. Just make sure Also, a good thing to do, a good sales technique, excuse me, is something that you might have not heard about, but it's something that you're doing all the time, is what we call double binds. And a double bind is what we do all the time, actually. It's like, would you like a 10 o'clock or a 3 o'clock? Would you like a 50 mil synchro or 30 mil synchro? So it's those sort of, a double bind basically means that you're giving the client the choice without them saying no. So it avoids the no. And so if we use double binds more often, you can write out a whole page of double binds in your business. It's a really fascinating way to look at helping the client make a decision without them saying no. And this is a really big one that's helped me a lot, because when you have social rapport and professional rapport, a lot of therapists ask me, well, how do you then click into being a professional without feeling awkward or changing your tone of voice? And that's just using the word so. It's as simple as that. You meet and greet, you have a little banter, and then you just go, well, so are you ready to come through? So can I tell you, or can you tell me? So just using the so word is a binding word to get from social rapport into professional rapport. And this is the last one, what to do in a sales situation is just listening. Some people don't like this, but it's really important. I use this a lot, is listening to keywords. And that's what we call active listening, and that builds trust. Because if you repeat words back to your client that they've used, like I had a client in the other day and all she wanted was a glowing complexion. So I said, so if you want, I'll use the word so if you want to use, have a glowing complexion, this is what I'd suggest. Is that okay? And can you see I use ask permission in that scenario? I've used 3 sales techniques. So I've used the word so, I've asked permission, and I've used a key word because she wanted to have glowing skin. So repeat the key words back to your client and they will take note that, wow, she's really listening to me. And it builds a lot more trust. So hopefully the do's and don'ts have helped you. So how can I help therapists become more confident with sales and inspire clients to buy? Well, as I've mentioned, hopefully these techniques you see are really easy. Sales can be taught and it can be really, really effortless. And I teach you how to create your own personalized, easy to follow sales system that utilizes effective sales techniques. And I'll dive deeper into your mindsets and cover these challenges, unconscious blocks, limiting beliefs. And sometimes there's sabotages there that take us away from these positive attitudes to heal and transform. I also help you improve your presentation and your communication skills, how to handle objections, increase your confidence through positive feedback, and how to manage your energy. And I've got a really special offer to offer the Vital Plus Future Beauty account, and I'm really excited to offer that. I've put a link in the chat and you can have a look at that. But today I'll be offering a special opportunity to work with me, and it's a huge savings, and you'll be getting a 49-page Surviving to Thriving workbook, which gives you powerful transformative techniques and business boosting strategies. You'll be working with me one-on-one for 6 weeks. We'll be doing a Zoom call for 6 weeks in a row where I'll be training, teaching you, taking you through sales techniques and unpacking any questions, helping you through any challenges, working with you directly in the 60 minutes. Also, you'll be getting a 60-minute call before we start, so I can find out exactly where you are, where the problems are, and how to help you unblock those problems by creating a plan, like a strategy, which is really exciting. A whole strategy will be yours, and you'll get support in Boxer every day. You can contact me Monday to Friday through the Boxer app and send your questions through or any feedback. And then you get a call at the end of the 6 weeks so we can unpack anything that might be in the way, or anything that you're still not sure about, but in 6 weeks you're going to be a pro at selling, no doubt. Because once you get my one-on-one attention, I'll be holding you accountable to making sure that things are moving in your direction to get the profitability, sustainability, and the energy, and also working mindset. So you'll see there. Might want to write my number down, or just click on the link in the chat. You can see the offer there. It starts this Monday, and it's power packed. I'm very excited to announce that. So thank you, everyone. It's absolutely honoured to be here, to be with you, and I hope that was informative. And I know I can speak fast, but
certainly was very informative. Thank you so much, Naomi. There were so many precious points you shared with us. And it kind of threw me back to some of the things that we did in the past. For those of you who don't know, I've interviewed Naomi already many times, because being her supplier, we would see there's this girl in a little salon that's away from all these shops, and she's doing more orders than anybody else who are in prime spot. What is her secret? I've got to ask her. And so we started these interviews, and maybe I might just quickly share my screen just to show you some of the things that I'm talking about. Here you'll see there's some videos on our YouTube channel, and I'll put the link to our YouTube. I have many interviews with Naomi where she talks about, like she mentioned, the high point of sale, which was the timing, all about timing.
If I can add to that, Frank, I have to say that high point is my sales system, high point to low point, and that transformed our team. That was so easy to implement. And when I talk about a sales system that is easy to follow, it is so easy to follow once you understand the steps. So that screen where I showed you about rapport, trust, finding out their why, those bullet points, if people were to follow that alone, they would easily find this system accessible and bringing in results. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but you can actually create a system out of those bullet points. And that's why I was so proud I remember in 2011, we won that award, a return trip to Paris. That was based on that sales system, because we sold 100,000 in wholesale.
Yes, that's right. That was a wholesale purchases, and we sent you to Paris for that. That was a great achievement.
Trip.
If you're already good in sales, there's always room for improvement, I say, and I think that Naomi's course is definitely worth checking out, because we've noticed that the people who have taken her course have increased their purchases. So there's definitely some value there. Please join us again for another Future Beauty Talk in the future.
Thank you so much, Frank.